Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and otherwise. Welcome to Barkerville. We are here today for The Bachelor in Time. Are you ready? Here we have our time traveler.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here to meet all the different decades and hopefully find the perfect decade to spend the rest of my life with.
Okay, great. Well, then let's get on to meeting our decades. First up, we have the 1860s. This guy hosted the Confederation of Canada and the first ever Canadian Prime Minister, Mr. John A. Macdonald.
Hello, eh? How about those beds, eh? You got a fiver? Maybe some toonies for some Timmies? Let me tell you a little something. I really like that good old Johnny A. Mackers. Now, come on, let's go Confederate!
As you can see, this young catch here was there for Canadian Confederation in 1867, and the election of the first Prime Minister of Canada, John A. Macdonald. Very patriotic, isn't he?
Yup.
Confederation was born out of nationalism and included the 4 original provinces: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Quebec, and Ontario.
He's okay, I guess, but like kind of dorky.
Hey, you know, I really did like that 1860s guy. I think I might join him. What do you think about that? Eh?
And here we have Mr. 70s. This lad was very angry that the Hudson's Bay Company was selling Rupert's land. But being all the way in BC, he didn't know much about the Red River Resistance. To learn more, he decided that his colonies, the BC colonies, should join Confederation.
Hey!
So that Canada could pay off their debt and extend the railway to the west coast.
Hey! Bro, I am like so totally over this. I am like so ready to revolt if you'll have me. And like I got all these like super rebellious plans, but like I gotta warn you though, they're like really totally rebellious. You know, I gotta tell you, my leader, Louis Riel, the most rebellious man I know.
What's up, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Rebels for life!
Yeah, rebellion, bro.
Now, for a change of scenery, the punky 1880s. Now, he fought against the Canadian government in the Northwest Rebellion. The government was signing away the land of the First Nations people, and the Métis were losing their jobs in the Hudson's Bay Company. This young man even signed to give the Métis their rights and fought in 1885. But the Métis lost the battle when Canada brought in the military to fight against the Métis forces.
Rebellion, bro.
He's like kind of annoying and like the hair is a total put off.
Hey,
Funky.
oh, wanna rebel with me?
No. No.
I got places to be, people to see, gold to get. Let me tell you, I can't wait to get all that gold. Next up, we have the 1900s. Why don't you come up here and say hello?
Hey, so there were some rebellions, but I don't totally want to spoil it, but the Asians are at the rough end of it.
Oh man. Well, this tri-lad was unfortunately home to the anti-Asian rebellions. On Labor Day 1907, Canadians began a riot and tore through Chinatown and wrecked everything. Fortunately, William Lyon Mackenzie was able to come up with a solution that quite satisfied everyone. I just got out of the fight. It was at this new boxing club, what's it called? Made me rich. I really hope I get to know you more.
He may not be the brightest, but he's got his eyes on the prize. Meet 1910s, the army boy. His loyalty to the mother country brought this soldier into the war, but with his valor and hard work, he made his own name in the world, and Canada became known as one of the best fighting forces in the battle. But over 66,000 of his comrades passed away, and more than 172,000 were seriously injured, many of which, including this young man, leaving the battlefield with what's now known as PTSD.
Cut. Why? You really are a blue surge. Come on down to the 1920s. We sure know how to swing and bob, but don't get too carried away.
Now, 1910s might be a soldier, but this one is a fighter. A lawyer and councilman, 20s chick here, was first riled up in 1917 when women weren't allowed to join Senate. When the Famous Five, a group of feminists, came into play, petitions were started and laws were reviewed, considering Canada implied that women were not persons. Luckily, in 1929, the Privy Council determined that women were in fact persons, and our fighter here was quite proud. On top of that, she decided that Canada should be a part of the League of Nations, and so they did, serving on the council from 1927 until 1930. Hi.
Unfortunately, he was caught in the Great Depression, but 1930 still managed to get back on his feet for the Statute of Westminster. He was part of the 1/5 of people dependent on government relief, as well as the 30% of labor forces who were unemployed. Being in BC, he was one of the most affected by the event. But Canada was technically bankrupt by 1932. However, in 1939, the Statute of Westminster was passed, under the impression that Canada would achieve greater autonomy, which it did, thanks to the Balfour Report, stating that Britain and its colonies were all equal.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit violent. Now! Sorry, just hourly duties. Anyways, I gotta tell you, I'm really excited to know more about the time traveler.
That man hosted the Second World War and the UN being formed. The Second World War lasted 6 years. For young soldiers, fighting in the war was a remarkable achievement. They helped defend the United Kingdom when Nazi invasion was imminent. They fought valiantly in the unsuccessful attempt to defend Hong Kong against the Japanese. They played their part in the 2 great campaigns. They fought for 20 months and were on the front lines when the Allies returned to continental Europe on D-Day in 1944.
I've been working on a Trans-Canada Pipeline, blah-de-da-de-da.
Quite the hard worker, isn't he? So is Handy Hammer. 1950 took part in the Korean War as part of the UN along with 26,790 other Canadians. He helped blockade the coast, protect the UN fleet, prevent army landings, and much more, until armistice was signed in July 1953. Also, in October 1958, the Trans-Canada Pipeline was completed, a pipeline on which this hardy boy was working on himself. Blech.
Ooh, muscles.
Whoa, bro, what a time to be alive! I've got a secret to tell you. Shh. I'm a bit of a rebel myself. Rebellion.
This hippie is quite quiet, but don't be fooled, he's got a lot going on. Inspired by the change happening in the rest of Canada, this kid took part in the Quiet Rebellion of Quebec, which involved a large-scale rejection of previous French values and the strong influence of nationalism. These Quebecois were now in need of democratization for the political and educational systems, accessibility to social educational services, the well-being for all, and more. This led to the redefinition of the role of French Canadians in Canada, and the Quebecois changed to focus on collective goals for all of Quebec, including bilingualism and biculturalism. Biculturalism in Canada and equal status in Confederation. But only was this Bohemian also strongly supported the Canadian Pacific Railway, a direct result of BC joining Confederation in the 1870s. This became one of the largest railways in North America and was the birthplace of many major trade cities/communities in Canada. Finally, the overachiever also witnessed the Canadian Bill of Rights. This was the first federal law to protect human rights/fundamental freedoms, introduced by former Prime Minister John Diefenbaker.
Okay, here we have the 1970s. This lad was here for the October crisis. Why don't you tell something about that, buddy?
Long live the Liberation Front of Quebec. For too long we have been subjugated by the shackles of English society, but now change will come. We've been underestimated, mistreated, but now we will use whatever measures necessary.
And he's staying alive in this rough time. I guess I'll tell you about him. The October crisis became the most serious terrorist in Canada after Minister of Immigration and Labour Pierre Laporte was kidnapped and killed. Did you really kill him? It was also the only use of Wartime Measures Act during a non-wartime Canadian history. Oh my god, some of these decades are just like totally not it. Like, totally gag me with a spoon. On another note, this experience is just like kind of totally radical.
This dapper ball was also affected by the Constitutional Act of 1982, also known as the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This act, a follow-up on the British North America Act of 1867, truly founded Canada as a nation, especially when signed by Queen Elizabeth II in April of 1985. The Charter was inspired by the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was formed in 1948, and by representations from minority groups across Canada, including women, Aboriginal people, disabled people, ethnic and cultural minorities, and many more.
You guessed it right, it's the 1990s. Come on up.
Oui, ho, referendum!
Alright, so I actually heard that you have a special message for our viewers. You mind sharing it with us?
No problem. Are you, a Quebecois, tired of being ignored, judged by the British Monsieur et Madame? Do you want to join our cause? Do you want to become your own country? Then vote for our referendum today and be a part of the change.
Let me tell you a little secret. He actually loses, but don't tell that to him. Besides, his loss was very narrow, and the majority only won by 0.58%. This event was really important to Canadian society because after this referendum, Prime Minister John Cretton promised better recognition of Quebecois in Canadian society.
It's Brittany, witch. I mean, it's the Clarity Bill, witch.
This debate team president loves conflict, but Canada won't let him join the war in Iraq. In 1999 December, the Clarity Bill was introduced, and in 2000 it received royal assent. It gave the House of Commons power to ask for a clarification for a question regarding secession. Secession could be limited to answers of whether it was secession, yes or no. This Clarity Bill was controversial as people weren't happy that it was made after the Quebec referendum. Vancouver, eh? Boy, I really like that city. But I've got to be honest with you, the people there are a little weird. Just make sure not to go to Maple Ridge if you choose my decade.
What a good sport this guy is. 2010 here is the sportiest man you'll ever meet. He even participated in the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, BC, contributing to the record-winning 14 gold medals, the most medals any single country has won at the Winter Games. This is the third time Canada has hosted the Games, and Vancouver hosted 2,566 athletes in total. 202 of which were Canadian. There were over 86 events, and Canada won with a whopping 26 medals.